The next thing we need to look at in our quest, and this is a quest, to modify Adobe Illustrator objects is called Envelope Distort. Envelope Distort is actually three parts. You can distort with a warp, distort with a mesh, or distort with a top object. And I've got some interesting examples for all three of those. The word awesome is a word. It is not converted to outlines. You don't have to convert it to outline to make it work. So you can leave it as text. Anything you want, any font, doesn't matter. Let's select the word awesome, and let's come over here to the word object. Go down to Envelope Distort. These options have been there for a while. Envelope options are what we'll look at first. Our options are, number one, raster to anti-alias. If you know what that term means, it makes things look visibly smoother when it's activated, so it's a good thing to leave on. It's going to change the shape. Will it preserve it with a mask or transparency? Most cases, you're probably going to want to use a clipping mask. It makes it easier to move it around. Fidelity is, it's the quality of what it uses to make the shape fit the object. Higher fidelities, it's going to be tighter to the object that you're changing it into, but that could cause problems in complexity. Lower numbers, it's going to be smoother. You might not like what you see. 50% is usually fine. Do we want to distort the appearance? Yes. But if you're using gradients and patterns, do you want to distort them also or leave them alone? It's up to you. Let's click OK out of here. Now let's go back. Object, Envelope Distort, and Make with Warp. Turn on the preview. I don't know about you, but do these look familiar to you? If you're using Adobe Photoshop, we have had the warp options exactly what you see right here in that program for 100 years. The only difference is in Adobe Photoshop, they can only be used on text. And in Adobe Illustrator, although I am using text, they can be used on any object that you want. Let's just do one of them, like maybe flag. Come down here and go to flag. Change the horizontal or vertical, which creates a really funky looking shape. I don't even know what that word means. Go back to horizontal. Go into bend. Change it any way you want. We can go into the horizontal here for distortion, maybe turn it into a pendant, I suppose, if we're going for the flag look. And we could even change some of the vertical. We are controlling the horizontal. We are controlling the vertical. You click OK, it's set. But the cool thing is, it's not permanent. This is non-destructive. Envelope Distort is non-destructive because it's putting the object into something called an envelope. You can't see it. It's the clipping mask that's making the shape fit into what we perceive now as, I suppose, a flag. If we select it again and come back up to Object and go back down to Envelope Distort, number one, we can edit the contents. Well, I don't want the word awesome, Andy. I want the word flag. There you go. If you choose the Expand option, basically what you're saying is, I'm happy with this shape. I have no reason to ever undo it again, make it a permanent thing. If you want to take it back out again, you can say Release. Now here is the mask. That's the only way you can really see this, by doing a release, not an undo. That's the mask that forced the word awesome into that shape. It makes it based on the Make Warp features. All right, that's the first one. The next option is Make with Mesh. So I've got a nice Cheshire cat here for us to play with. We'll select him, or her, I'm not sure actually. Go to Object and go down to Envelope Distort and select Make with Mesh. Your options are how many rows and how many columns. Let's go say 6. You can see a preview, and 6. Click OK. Pick up your direct selection tool. These are points. We get to modify them. For example, I come to this one right here, drag it. Come to, let's do these 2. Select them both, and maybe drag those. Come down to these 3, and come down like this. We're making evil cat. You can go on the inside if you want to, change it around. Evil cat now has funny eyes going on. I don't know if I'd trust this cat if he was in my house, but you get the idea. Envelope Distort is actually pretty cool because it puts a mesh, and the complexity of the mesh is up to you. But the more complex the mesh, the more changes you can make to shapes. And I use this shape for a reason. This shape is made up of about 50 pieces. It works with all the pieces as a unit. They are grouped together. But that's it. Envelope Distort's actually kind of fun to work with too. And again, if you don't like it anymore, you can go up and you can undo it. Let's get out of Make with Mesh. Make with Top Object is really cool because it allows you to choose your shape. So this is kind of like Make with Warp, but you get to choose the shape that does the warping. In my first example, I've got a whole bunch of ATM dudes here. Just made them copy-pasted, made a whole bunch of them, right? Come over here and pick up your ellipse tool. Draw something as simple as an ellipse. Remember, Make with Top Object. Select everything. Okay, we got the ATM dudes and the circle selected. Check this out. Go up to the word object, go down to Envelope Distort, and select Make with Top Object. Isn't that cool? It's like a magnifying glass. Doesn't matter what the shape is. The shape's up to you. But if you're doing something like a circle, it acts almost like this magnifying glass effect. The next one, just to prove a point, here's the word star, and it is underneath the star. Make with Top Object does not require the object be on top. It knows which one is on top. I'm going to select these two, and even though they're not touching, it doesn't matter. It knows which one's on top. So we select both of these, and then we come over again, and we go into Envelope Distort, Make with Top Object, and we now have the word star inside the star. Now, we did lose the star, but that's why I've got this one. I'm going to select these two. We'll go into our Align feature, and we'll say Align Objects, and put it on top so you can still see the star in a sense. We now have the word star inside of a star. If you are planning on having the shape, remember, the shape that actually makes it work goes away because it becomes the mask. Make a copy. It's very easy to do. And then put it inside the copy so you can still see the shape. Pretty cool. Envelope Distort's three features, Warp, Mesh, and Top Object, are non-destructive. Remember that about them. Fun to work with. This one to me is the most creative because you get to actually choose the shape. But they're all three very valuable tools and have been in this program for a while.